Welcome to a session of Globe Summit, the Boston Globe's annual conference. Thank you for joining us, both in person and virtually, across the universe. This is another exciting series of discussions, taking the Boston Globe's award-winning journalism beyond the page. My name is Michael Silverman, sports business reporter at the Boston Globe, and I'll be moderating today's session, Building Titletown, Boston Sports Leaders on Strategies for Success. I'm pleased to be joined for this session by Rich Gotham, president of the Celtics, seated in the green chair, of course.
They voted me off the island. I'm over
Cam Neely, president of the Bruins. Adam Grossman, chief marketing officer for the Boston Red Sox. Jen Farron, chief marketing officer of the New England Patriots. And Brian Bolello, president of the New England Revolution. Thank you all for making it. I believe this is a world record attendance for size of panel, so you're all witness to history. So the title of this is Titletown, Strategies for Success. And I get it. At the beginning of this century, among the teams here, 12 titles in all. 6 from the Patriots, 4 from the Red Sox, 1 apiece from the Celtics and Bruins. I will say, though, there's about 750,000 children, age 5 and under, who have never witnessed a duck boat parade. And what I want to ask, and I know that, perhaps this is a perpetually spoiled Boston sports fan or Boston sports media member, but are we spoiled by success? Is there any way to please a Boston sports fan? Are we still living in Titletown? Whoever wants to take a crack at that first,
you win,
knock yourself
you
out.
please them. You win, you please them.
Is that all it takes?
That's all it takes.
Okay. So the last 5 years, has it just gotten harder? Have other cities and towns gotten better, or are we just spoiled here in Boston?
I think it's for us, it's always been hard. 30 teams or 32 teams in a league, only one's happy at the end of the season. When you win and you look back, it really dawns on you how the stars really have to align. You have to be not just good, you also have to be lucky with regard to health, with regard to matchups. There's so many things that come into play. It's, when you see the Pats winning 6 or the Sox winning 4, like that's an aberration. That generally doesn't happen. I mean, that's why Boston has been so different. But I think it's, the way I've looked at it is, you're not going to win every year. You got to try to take advantage of your opportunities when they're there. In the years you don't win, you still got to find some joy in it. So I look at our season, and we were disappointed not to get back to the finals. We lost the 7-game series to Miami, but the thing that I remember the most is the Game 6 Derek White putback. And when I look back at the season, I'm like, okay, it was tough. We didn't achieve our goal, but that was such a great sports moment that I've sort of take that away and say, hopefully fans, even if they are championship driven and a little spoiled, can still enjoy those kind of moments.
I'll preface by saying I grew up in Cleveland. So to answer your question directly, I would say yes. But I think for us as a town, I mean, it is such an incredible sports town, and it's always been that way, and it's always been a tough sports town, which is also, when you win, makes it even sweeter for everyone. But I'm even, with the Bruins last year, to have the regular season that they had, have the Celtics, and with what they've done, I mean, unfortunately, it's sort of, obviously it's a results business and you either have trophies or you don't. But I mean, watching the Bruins play last year was astounding. Like, I don't know what sport that was, and for our girls or hockey players, we're at Game 7, they'll remember it forever, even though it was sort of tragic for all. But at the same time, we will get to the point where I think it's been for all of us too, like the level and the standard that is set by the other teams here, I think makes us all better. And I think Boston's been a real competitive advantage over the years, not only from the market, but also just the dynamic amongst the teams and with the principals who are in charge. It's been remarkable, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, I think your fans, they don't need you to win trophies. They really want you to win trophies, but they need to know that you're going to be competitive to win those trophies. And so they would think what they want to see out of all of our organizations is that we're investing in our teams both on and off the field to make them as competitive as they can be, and that every year, or hopefully every year, whether that's you're in a playoff model, in soccer we have different tournaments and trophies that you're competing in those tournaments. I think they just want to know that you're one of those teams that year after year has a chance to win that trophy and are really competitive for those trophies. And obviously we all want to win them. That's what we're all here for. But you really need to show that you're committed to that effort. And I think that more than anything is what fans really need to see from their organizations.
Right, and in the span, even before 2018, the last championship, the team valuations, not just in Boston but around the globe, have just been on a steady rise. Great investment for owners. I mean, the value of the Patriots, according to Forbes, last time was $7 billion, which makes them the third most valuable, tied with the Warriors, the third most valuable team on the planet. The Red Sox at $4.5 billion. I think the Celtics were at $4. 1.4 for the Bruins, and that's great. And FSG, I think, is the fourth largest sports conglomerate, over 10 billion. Great, big numbers, but I think there's a bit of a disconnect among fans when they hear that. I don't think anyone roots against their owners, but they're rooting for their teams. They want the owners to invest in payrolls that are built to win. And I know that you could cite numbers about correlating, between dollars spent on payroll with wins, but I don't think a lot of fans really ultimately care about that. So I'm wondering, how do you strike a balance between pleasing your owners, who, many of you report directly to or one step away, and pleasing fans? Does success mean the same to each of them?
Well, we're a hard cap league, so and we're a big market team, so we're kind of expected to spend to the cap, which we do. So it's a matter of we spending it properly. Back to Rich's point earlier about we got 32 teams, the majority of them because of COVID, the cap wasn't going up because revenues kind of stalled. More teams are now spending to the cap, so they become so much more parity. But if we don't spend to the cap, our fans will be asking why.
And I would say for us, when you're in a contending window, as I think we feel like we are now, we're willing to spend whatever it takes to try to win, where we have a salary cap, but it's a permeable cap. And what comes along with that is a luxury tax when you exceed it. Last year, the Celtics were like $70 million into the luxury tax, and we'll be well into it for this upcoming season and probably the next couple, but we feel like we're in a window where we can do it. And that is driven by our ownership. They're in it to win, even when it doesn't make financial sense, when you're losing a lot of money. And I think that's what, the average fan probably doesn't see. The valuation of a team doesn't really have much to do with cash flow or liquidity and what we're able to spend on players. They're two different things. So while the team may have this great kind of crazy value, we still have to run our business according to sort of economic principles and the rules of our leagues. And I think all the teams in Boston are doing everything within those parameters to be able to try to win. I don't, as a fan, look at any of the ownership groups any differently other than that they're committed to winning.
Right. From the standpoint of finding sponsors and advertisers and drawing fans to your venues, there's an ebb and flow when it comes to superstars. Right now, I'd say we're post Brady, we're post David Ortiz. Celtics probably the best positioned, I think, in terms of having young quasi-superstar talent locked up. But do you need superstars to succeed in Boston, or is it not at all that simple?
I mean, listen, I think every sports team in any city can thrive when you have a superstar on your team. But I think all of us, try to relish in the moments when we have those stars and take advantage of it and capitalize on it. But we're going to be there year after year. So when we don't have a star, I think it's equally important to bring value and a composition both on and off the field. So we try to build relationships with the fan base and make sure that we are delivering a value both in the arena, with the players and events offsite, with our partners, right? Corporate partners are really the asset that we'll rely on to reinvest in some of the organization. And so I think having superstars certainly makes a difference at a moment in time. But there's a big trade market out there right now also. So it's incredibly unusual for teams to have players that stay, as long as they did, like when Cam played or Brady. Like that's just not happening as much anymore. And so I think we all have to take advantage of, leveraging it when you have it, but being prepared for the moments when those players aren't with your institution.
Yeah, I think it depends on the sport. I think our fans for all our clubs want winning teams. And so if it's important in your, whether it's basketball or hockey or soccer, if you need a star to be successful, then you need a star. But we have, we're the young ones in this group, and we're almost 30 years old now. So when you have generations of fans in your fan base, they want to support your teams. They love the sport, they love the team. So if you give them a great product, they're going to support you. If it takes a star to do that, well, then you need a star. But if you can do that with, not a mega star, but have the best team in the league, I think these clubs, you're going to see the support from the fan base.
And Lionel Messi, how come? He's in Miami, not Boston. Speaking of stars.
It's interesting.
I love Boston, but it's not the same weather as Miami.
Yeah, and I think different sports are different in that, soccer, Lionel Messi just said it, like a world famous star. What do we say? Billions of social media followers.
He might be the most well-recognizable person on the planet, maybe of all time.
Yeah.
In terms of you can go anywhere in the world and show a picture of him and people would know who he is. So it's a very different animal than, let's say, a star player. But yeah, he's been tremendous for the league as a whole. He's been good on the field, obviously, and he just won a World Cup and was probably the best player at the World Cup. So you're talking about a guy who is the best player of all time in the most popular sport in the world. He's a pretty special guy.
Yeah, if you look at the NBA, it's very much a superstar-driven league from a marketing standpoint. Sure. And the players aren't wearing masks or anything. Everyone knows who they are. It's played globally. But you look at who won this year, and I don't as much as Jokic is maybe the best player in the game. He's not a global superstar, nor Miami was the other team in it. So I think you can do it both ways. It's nice if you have a superstar who helps you win, but if you don't, you can still win. Right?
Adam, did you?
I think for all of us, it's interesting to see, especially as social media has risen and the importance of that, and then also sort of looking at next generation fans. The superstars are really important, and they're important because they're every bit as, at times. You're talking Messi, and he's an extreme example. But LeBron, when he goes from Cleveland to LA, it's sort of arguably as big as the city, big as the brand. And so, like Rich was saying, different sports, it is a little different. But I think we're highly focused on how are we marketing our players, especially when we have young players like Jen was saying. We got Tristan Casas and Bayo and some new talent in addition to a superstar that's going to be with us for a long time, and somebody like Devers. How we're growing their brand is really important to us because that is the connectivity, especially in a more and more celebrity-driven world through the digital tools that are there. So I think the partnerships between the teams and the clubs are valuable and really important. But the player has to want that platform. There's also a range of players who may be superstar talents that aren't comfortable in front of the camera or being on the global stage. David Ortiz was one of those guys for us who had the magnetism and was very comfortable with the platform and was also amazing. And that's a rare combination.
How challenging was it, though, when Mookie Betts left and you guys made the decision to trade him? That must have been quite the pivot from trying to market the team.
Yeah, it was a challenge. There's no doubt. And also when Ortiz retired, that was a challenge. And we see stars. Again, going back to the original question around Boston. We've been blessed to have incredible stars. Along and so to be able to have that, as Jen was saying, we need to be flexible. And whether that's through a trade or through a retirement, or people's careers change quickly, and the organizations have to endure with with superstars or without.
I mean, you got to remember it's all team sport, right? So you take hockey, for example. I mean, your superstar may only play 25 minutes a game, where, in other sports, you might be playing, 35 or 40, or all the games. So, while we all like having superstars on our team, it's really about how's the team performance. And the superstar obviously can help make other players better around them. But, you look at the history. We're going to be 100 years old. You look at the history of the franchise, and there's been superstars sprinkled through every decade. Players come and go, they retire, they get hurt, they get traded. But at the end of the day, it is a team sport.
Yes, I mean, a few of us in the panel sit over sort of the sports and business side of things, and it can be really tempting if you're not disciplined to say, well, this helps on the marketing side. What does it mean on the team side? But you have to focus on the team first. You have to do what your sports people think is best for the sports team. And I think that's really important. I think where the disconnect sometimes can happen for all of us with fans is like, we're all, and the people that work for us, we're trying to make the best decisions to make the team as good as possible. And that may not align with a fan favorite coming to the team or remaining with the team. But ultimately, everyone here is trying to make the best decision to put the best product on the field, because we know that's what gets fans excited, having a good product on the field. And I think when you don't have folks who work on the sports side who are spending hours and hours and hours looking at data, film, all those things, they're the experts. They have an opinion. They don't always get it right, but they're trying to get the right thing on the field for you. And sometimes that doesn't align with a fan favorite, either remaining with the club or staying with the club. So it is really tricky. It's frustrating for all of us because we want to make the fans happy, but we also know that this decision might have everyone angry tomorrow in the news, but we're confident in 6 months when the team's competing for a championship, the fans will be happy again. So you have to be disciplined and make sure you're doing what's best on the field and not overreacting to sort of a short term, the fans want this specific guy right now.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to revenue streams, none of you really seem to have trouble drawing fans to your venue, and viewership, it fluctuates with the performance of the team. And you all have pretty good media deals with your respective leagues. They're all different. But when did real estate become such a big deal for many of you, not everyone here?
15 years for me, and counting.
Yeah, we'll get back to the Revs, but the hub on Causeway, obviously, Delaware North production, the
Patriot Place.
Patriots,
Yeah.
Patriot Place, and now the renovations of the stadium, as well as making the Lighthouse a tourist destination, and Fenway. Real estate is about to embark. I mean, besides the music hall they built in the back there, you're about to launch a very ambitious mixed-use residential business development that's going to be, transform that neighborhood. When did that begin to be seen as kind of crucial for your teams, and does it translate to success?
Yeah, and for the Kraft family anyway, I think one of the things that we thought about for a number of years is we have a ton of real estate in Foxborough, right? We're not in the city as many of the other teams are, but how do you make the venue more of a destination 365 days a year? So I think for us, it was really trying to create an environment where if you didn't have an opportunity to come to the stadium and you didn't have a ticket, there was something more. And so I think it's, part of it's giving back into the community, being a good neighbor, creating opportunities, for the residents, at least where we are in Foxborough, to celebrate not just on game day, but every day. And I think there just was a need, right, in that community. We've added a ton of shopping and dining, and we've kind of helped to reinvigorate an area. We've added a commuter rail service there. We have the best-in-class hospitals now. With, Mass General Brigham has a location there. And so I think just the ability to be centrally located outside of a major city, right? We're halfway between Boston and Providence, but to look at the space that we had and said, what else can we do with this besides just 10 football games a year, 17 soccer games? How can we bring some vitality to the community and to the region? And so for us, that dates back to about 2007 when we built Patriot Place, and I think everybody else is sort of looking at it kind of in the same way, right? We have brands, we have a lot of expertise in building really strong communities, and how can we do that not just on game days?
Yeah, I've been a part of the organization for 20 years, and it's always been a discussion. You know, the real estate, and I would say sort of define real estate as ballpark or stadium experience as well, and then obviously the footprint of how that's defined has expanded, but. And I think, you know, in 2003, when John and Tom, I mean, they were the only ownership group that wanted to save Fenway Park at the beginning. They declared they were going to be here. The Fenway neighborhood immediately started to transform after that. And now, you know, as we start to look at the perimeter of Fenway Park and the potential for that, it's really exciting. And part of that for us, I think it's so exciting is, you know, when we developed and renovated the ballpark itself, there was an incremental approach to it. And you went monster seats and right field roof deck, and sort of little by little, the whole ballpark transformed. I think as we think about this, and I don't want to speak for all of us here, but what people want as a night out and an entertainment option has absolutely changed, particularly post-COVID. And you know, with what's going on in Patriot Place, and I think people want to come for entertainment, and sports may be a background to that. And you know, that's where the MGM Music Hall comes in for us. And like people want to congregate. They want to congregate more than ever. They're looking for entertainment options, and that experience doesn't start right when you put, you know, that ticket to get scanned. You know, that's part of the, you know, to have a pregame meal, to hang out, to just be around this vitality that the sports teams create is something that I think we're looking forward to cultivating, and it's just another piece of sort of what has become an iconic part of Boston.
Yeah. Cam, has the hub on Causeway, is there any kind of a trickle-down effect to your job in putting together a winning Bruins team?
Well, you know, obviously, when you add more things to do, whether it's restaurants or bars or shops, you know, you're going to want people to come to the venue. So what happens on the ice really drives the bus, right? Like if you have a good product on the ice or on the court or on the field, it drives the bus. And the fact that, you know, they had the real estate, they built a new garden, they sat on that real estate forever. It was 20 plus years of trying to get something done, I believe. And you know, when you have as many games as Celts and Bruins do, plus all the concerts, it's okay, people are coming here, what else can we offer them? And I think that's really what they looked at.
Yeah, I would add just, you know, that we're tenants and couldn't be more grateful for the investment that Delaware North, you know, has put into the area. And while the Bruins have been playing, you know, have been a very high demand situation for quite a while now, the Celtics have been as well. You sort of also have to plan these businesses for those years when you're not as good and is not as competitive. And it's the overall night out, you know, that you're providing for people versus just the wins and losses, right? Which, as much as you'd like to as a team, you can't really control. So from a retail proposition, you know, to have a great night out where I can go to a great restaurant before, go take in a game, have a great time at the game through the in-game experience and entertainment, plus everything that's happening around the arena, the energy, the vitality, as Adam said. I think it's all great for fans, but it's great for teams too, particularly, you know, if you find yourself in a low demand situation, you need to find ways to get people off the couch and, you know, into the arena.
Right. Brian, it's been no secret the Revolution have wanted to build a stadium in or near Boston. We've been hearing about it for years, maybe a decade, I don't know. But first of all, you have a morsel or a crumb to drop us today, and secondly, what do you expect that to mean for the team in terms of being able to, you know, maximize your revenues?
Yeah, I mean, no morsel today, but it's really important for our sport in this country and for MLS. If you look around the country, for those people who aren't familiar what's going on with our sport, these venues are amazing. They're, you know, somewhere between 20 and 25,000 seats usually, selling out every night, really vibrant atmospheres, and most of them, if not all, are in these urban cores of their cities. So our way so we all, you know, the unspoken thing is we all compete with each other, right, in this market for fans and attention and all that stuff. I have the unfortunate pleasure of competing worldwide for fans as well, right? So what makes someone in Boston be a Revs fan versus a Liverpool fan? Well, look, Liverpool, right, has better players. It's a different animal in terms of how they can invest on a global scale. Now, we hope to get there one day. MLS, in our opinion, is top 10 in the world now in terms of our league quality. But to get to that real, European Champions League level is a different thing altogether. So providing a great live experience, that's what our league has said to our fans. We're going to give you a great product on the field, but you can come to these games and experience it firsthand. So the live experience is actually more important for us, frankly, than anyone else here, because we have to convince fans that this is a great product to engage in, and that's how we get them to buy into MLS. So the venue is critical to us. Gillette's been great to us. I think we'll average, just over 23,000 fans a game this year. So we've grown that fan base, and they're really excited. And the renovations that we've done are tremendous. So check them out if you haven't yet. But long term, we need to have our venue. We need to have something close to the city. I'm sure if you ask these other folks if they would move out to the suburbs with their organizations and their stadiums, they'd say no. There's a reason. Vibrant's a great, vibrant, livable city. And when you have a city like that, to have your sports team downtown is really, really critical, I think. NFL is a little bit of a different animal with the tailgating and 70,000 people and the full day event. I think it's probably better that maybe they're in a more suburban location, but for us, it's really, really critical.
Okay, no morsel, but would you say it's a priority? Is it something?
It's been our top. It's been our top priority for a while. It's these guys are still playing in Fenway Park. Those guys, built a new arena, but essentially on the same site as their own arena. So real estate is very tough in the city, and that's made it challenging for us. But we're going to be talking about somewhere, $500 million plus investment by the Kraft family to make this happen, and we're still very, very committed to it and pushing really hard on it right now.
Has there been progress, would you say, recently, or?
Sure.
Okay. You mentioned something about that you all feel like you're competing amongst each other. How intense is that competition? Are you competing for advertisers, sponsors, or do you all are you in your own silo?
Well, we've all got a monopoly on our own professional sport, right, in the
Yeah,
region.
good point.
So, I understand Brian's perspective because they were sort of last in with 4 really entrenched, great sports brands that they're trying to, fight for some airspace, right? We play the same season as Cam's team, and I've never considered the Bruins a competitor because, we're trying to grow basketball fans, not take hockey fans and convert them into basketball fans. And there's if we do our job well and we put a good product on the floor, I think there's enough there for all the teams and all the organizations. And we're fortunate, Boston is an affluent enough market that we can all sell tickets at healthy prices. There's enough of a corporate base here. They're not all consumer-facing brands, which makes it a little tougher from a sponsorship standpoint than maybe some other markets. But it's not, Los Angeles or New York or even Chicago where you have 2 teams in the same sport competing against each other. So I think we're lucky that Boston can support 5 professional sports teams at the highest levels.
I think some of that competition is like healthy competition, right? And even, we talked about real estate in the venues, right? We learn a lot from each other, and just communicating with one another. If we introduced a new product, we just renovated Gillette Stadium, right? What is it about the renovations that we've done where we're seeing successes, or where do we see opportunities where we could have done something differently? Those are the types of conversations that we will have with one another. And as people are looking at things, if you hear that somebody is trying a new product, a new ticket package, someone's getting into the business on variable pricing and dynamic pricing, or I think really in certain verticals that are the same, like we are all selling tickets, right? And so those are areas where I think we competitively can have conversations and really not, steal a fan from somebody else, but understand how are you reaching the fan? How are you engaging with that fan? How are the ticket platforms that you're using allowing you to more effectively reach a market? And secondary market has changed a lot of things for I think for all of us, not just within sports, but within live entertainment. And there are dollars that, there's only so much money to go around in a city. So, we had 10 concerts this year. Fenway had a boatload. The Garden has, concerts. So there are dollars that we are competing for. But, I think Rich makes a great point of we all have individualized sports. But even within that, I think it's more of a healthy let's see who's doing something really innovative and really unique, and how can we help amplify our own sports by doing something similar.
Is there collaboration that we don't hear about, cooperation among the 5 teams or
I was just going to say, I mean, I think that it's been a healthy collaboration, and part of that is a lot about what we've been talking about the last 20 minutes. The sophistication of teams and organizations has grown over the last 20 years. The complexity of the challenges that we all face has grown. We've worked a lot together with the Take the Lead initiative and sort of looking at social justice issues within the city and sort of how sports teams can play a larger role there. And we learned a ton. I think I'm just saying this personally. I learned a ton from all the organizations in that initiative, but also in COVID. I think all of us. I mean, we were sort of unified as an industry. And I think that's where things really shifted. To sort of another level of collaboration. And I don't know, even within each league, I think the teams started to work more collaboratively together in addition to across. Although I think a lot of, at least colleagues across the league and baseball have all sort of said, like, it's really amazing the collaboration and the relationships that the clubs have here. Because it does seem like it's not just sort of, hey, when you need something, like there's an ongoing dialogue and a familiarity that's been, I think, really powerful and really important for the success of all of our organizations.
We compete more with staying at home, going out to dinner, watching a movie, than we do with each other, right? So from that perspective, making professional sports something that you want to go do, you want to go see, I think that's our biggest thing together that we've done a great job of in the city. I think people love professional sports, and it's not like that anywhere else. So, making our venues, our teams, destinations for people to go and get entertainment, I think we're all unified in trying to make that important. I mean, it already is in Boston, but continuing that because you're always competing against other activities.
And one of the other things that I've noticed recently is how when the players interact from different teams and how that gets received by the fan bases. I think it's pretty special. Doesn't happen in a lot of cities.
You mean like showing up before games or getting a suite or something?
Yeah, just interacting with each other from different sports when they can, or going to support the game in particular, or playoffs. Just showing up at a regular season game, those types of things.
I think the most collaboration we do is actually in getting our players tickets to each other's games. That's like the big driver for a lot of conversations. Yeah.
Especially your games. My European guys love Celtics.
You guys have your own text chain for tickets? A ticket text chain?
But I also
I
think
stay
there's-
out of that myself.
Yeah,
personally.
But there's also sort of, Adam said it before, like there's some industry thing, when something's happening within the industry that we all need to solve on, right? Whether it's legalized sports betting or, again, the secondary market and ticketing, I think that's really where you can come together as businesses. We're all doing differently, but how are we able to understand a new market and sort of make sure that we're aligned and prospering from it?
Right. I think we have time for one more question, but with yesterday announcing that there'll be a new National Women's Soccer League team in Boston, as well as a professional hockey team in Boston. I know it's a crowded stage, but in future iterations of this summit, do you think Boston's going to welcome or support, let's put it that way, women's professional sports more than they have in the past?
I hope so. I've had a lot of conversations with the ownership group of the new women's soccer team, and I'll be going to their event today at 2 p.m. So from a Revolution standpoint and a soccer perspective, we're super excited to have that group here. And there's always a collaboration between the men's and women's side on the soccer. I think our national team is as unified as any group of women and men's athletes. So from our perspective, the more soccer, the better. The more soccer fans in our city, the better. And I think they're really poised to make a big splash in Boston.
Okay. I would love to keep on talking. I want to thank you all for coming. That's the end of our session, Building Titletown, Boston sports leaders on strategies for success. Thank you. There's still some great sessions up ahead under the theme of today's innovators, tomorrow's leaders. So be sure to keep watching. Check out the full schedule at globe.com/summit. And thank you all very much.